In episode 6, the team goes to Amsterdam for a friendly. And as Ted learns, a friendly is a really fancy way in soccer of saying an exhibition. The team gets hammered. Roy probably has the best answer in a post-game presser ever. He's asked about the team's struggles, and he says, "This is a friendly. It's a fake game. You're a fake reporter. These are fake questions. None of this matters." And he walks away. He didn't really even want to do the post-game presser, but he was asked by Keely, and he's still in good terms with her, so he agreed. But Keely isn't staying in Amsterdam. She's asked by Rebecca if she wants to hang out, but no, Keely has plans with Jack. So as soon as the game's over, she runs off. And that's something that Roy notices. He asks Rebecca where she's going, and Rebecca wisely says, to somebody who appreciates her. The team, though, is playing extremely stiff. It can't be ignored. So even though they just got crushed, Ted decides no practice tomorrow. He announced to the team, guys, go out, live it up. We're in Amsterdam. Go have fun. Let loose. I'll see you tomorrow on the bus when we head home. But upon this announcement, Roy announces to Jamie, yeah, you're not doing that. We're still training. He's not happy about what's going on with Keely, and he's going to take it out on Jamie. At least he planned on it. Jamie loves Amsterdam. He basically takes Roy on a tour of Amsterdam, acting like he's an Amsterdam expert. At one point, he decides, you know what, let's get some bikes and do a bike tour. But he learns that Roy Kent has no idea how to ride a bike. He was planning on learning from his grandfather, but then his grandfather died, and he just never learned how. But Jamie isn't deterred by that at all. He decides in that moment to teach Roy how to ride a bike. Roy gets really frustrated, but after a while, he picks it up, and the two head off to go find a windmill, an actual windmill in Amsterdam. Turns out they actually get along quite well. They aren't the only twosome, though, to split up. Higgins asks Will, the equipment manager, if he wants to hang out with him, and Will says, yeah, that'd be great. And Higgins tells him, all right, our first stop tonight is the red light district, which was something that Will didn't expect. But when they actually get to the red light district, it's not what Will was expecting. Now, Higgins is a jazz aficionado. He's obsessed with that kind of music. And there was a jazz musician who was famous who died in the red light district. So Higgins wanted to stop off and see the area that he died to pay respects to the legend. The second stop they go to is a jazz club. Higgins really wants to show Will live jazz music, which, as it turns out, Will likes quite a bit. But the two are front row center, and Higgins is really getting into the bass quite a bit, and the people on stage notice it. So they call Higgins up to perform live on stage, and Higgins revels in it. He's loving it, and he also crushes it. But he's not the only one who crushes something, because Will gets the eye of a couple, and they end up inviting him back for a threesome. So good for Will. He got laid. Ted had planned on hanging out with Beard, but he also texts Rebecca to see if she wants to hang out as well. Beard and Ted are planning on going to dinner, and Ted's looking up restaurants. The first one that catches his eye is a place called the Yankee Doodle Burger Barn. They came all the way to Amsterdam, and Ted wants to go to an American-themed restaurant, which Beard really isn't into. As Beard is getting ready, though, Ted mentions how he currently feels stuck. He needs to do something to get himself out of his own head. Beard comes out of the bathroom and says, I've been waiting for you to say those words for a very long time. Because even though they're in Amsterdam, Beard has brought his own drugs with him. Ted isn't so sure about taking stuff. Beard convinces him, though, that by taking some hallucinogens, it will definitely change the way that Ted sees the world, and it could inspire him. So he puts the stuff in 2 glasses of tea and pours one for him and one for Ted. Beard drinks his pretty quickly. Ted, however, has some reservations. They wait a little bit, and finally Ted turns to Beard and says, if you want to go, and Beard doesn't think twice, telling Ted, yeah, I'll see you in the morning, and he leaves. So Ted's just left alone with this glass of tea. He once again texts Rebecca to see what she's up to, but she's been blowing him off all day. He gets sick of just sitting in his hotel room, so he drinks most of the tea and heads out. The first place he heads by himself is to a Van Gogh exhibit. The museum guide actually says some beautiful words to Ted about finding inspiration through beauty. Like Vincent, he implores Ted to never stop doing what he's meant to do, because if you're meant to do it, you need to always try. He then gives Ted a book and tells him that they close in 10 minutes, so Ted's got to get going. He gets a little hungry, so he decides to head to that burger barn, and it is as hokey as one would expect. You got 3 sections you can sit in: the Windy City, the Big Apple, or Hollywood. And the host doesn't even know that Windy City is Chicago. But Ted sits down, gets huge portion of food, and all of a sudden, that tea kicks in. As he's sitting there watching an old basketball game of Michael Jordan and the Bulls, one that he actually watched as a kid with his father, he gets inspired via the triangle offense. He starts thinking about triangles, where they came from, the origins. But then he starts thinking about triangles in the sense of soccer. And he starts frantically mapping out plays using, at first, the book that he was given, and then next, ketchup and mustard bottles. Now, his team, they didn't have as inspiring of a night. With all the freedom in the world, they decided that they would do something fun, but they couldn't agree on anything. They tried for hours. They threw out some ideas, including going to see a sex show, but no one could agree on one thing, and Isaac was very adamant that the team has to pick something to do together. They can't even agree on what food to eat, and finally, some of the alcohol starts talking, but Isaac gets tired of it, and he stands up and he yells at the group. So Sam grabs a piece of paper and writes down, "pillow fight." And they all agree. Yeah, that's how they're going to spend their night. Grown men with pillows and feathers flying everywhere. But they love it, and it does help bond the team. Although one member who is missing is Colin. He decided to bow out, saying that he didn't want to go to a sex show, which was originally going to be the plan. He wanted to go to a sex show, but it was a different kind of sex show. He slipped off to a gay bar. As he's ordering a drink, Trent Krim comes in, and Colin gets completely spooked. He rushes out of the bar so he's not caught by Trent, and Trent runs after him and says, "Colin, I've known for months, and there's probably a good reason why I haven't said anything. Think about it." This immediately puts Colin's mind at ease. They go, they grab a drink, they talk about Trent coming out to his wife and how happy his child currently is, but the struggle of keeping that lie was too much for him, and he doesn't understand how Colin's able to do it. Colin tells him that nobody at the team knows, and he'd like to think that nobody would care, but he doesn't want to put him in that situation. But it does seem like having somebody know that is close to the team is helping put his mind at ease. And for the rest of the night, he and Trent go and hang out at a gay bar and have a blast together. So that's what the team was up to. The owner, she wasn't blowing off Ted's text just because she was mad at him. She wasn't. She actually fell into a canal. She was rescued by a decent-looking guy on a houseboat. She was soaking wet, so he let her change, dry her clothes, hop in the shower to clean up a bit, and he even gave her some tea, promising that he didn't drug her. They ended up talking, chatting, really getting along. Turns out that this guy had a long-term girlfriend, but she cheated on him. And he was in a bad place, but he's no longer like that at all. Guy's former military, he owns a house, he owns a boat, albeit they're the same thing, but he seems like the total package. Oh, and he can cook. I mean, Rebecca really gets along with this guy, to the point where when her clothes finally are dry, she decides to throw some alcohol on them so they're wet again, so she can spend more time with this guy. He wraps up the night by giving her an incredible foot massage that actually puts her to sleep. When she wakes up the next morning, she has to ask him, "Hey, did we hook up?" And he says, No, we didn't. He offers to cook her breakfast, but she says, "No, I gotta get going." And right before she leaves, she tells him, "I'll never forget you." And then she kisses him. But she never even gets the guy's name. She never even gives her name to him. It's just a really, really good night. Rebecca heads back to the hotel to join the team on the bus, and everybody is in a good mood. Ted thinks he's revolutionized the game of soccer. He shows Beard, who somehow found his way into a animal-themed David Bowie band during the night. And Beard loves it, but he has to reveal to Ted that it was actually a theme that was created in Holland. This whole triangle offense, positionless soccer. He then, though, reveals to Ted that they got a bad batch of tea. He was able to confirm it with the bus driver back in Richmond who gave him the batch. So it turns out that Ted wasn't tripping. He literally came up with this inspiration on his own. But it is something that they definitely are going to try once they get back to Richmond. And once they get back to Richmond, they've got a bus full of people that are flying high, good spirits and all. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.